There are so many organic chai options on the market these days, which is awesome. But with all those choices, it's hard to decide which one to purchase. So I set out to try 10 different chai tea brands so I can recommend some really good ones to you. Now, let me say from the get-go that I know that chai means tea, so saying chai tea is redundant. Also, the proper way to refer to these teas is masala chai, because masala comes from the word that translates to approximately spice or mixed spices. However, in America, chai has come to mean a mix of spices such as cinnamon, nutmegs, cloves, etc. So saying chai tea isn't redundant, and sometimes that feels more natural to say. So please forgive my bad grammar throughout this video. Anyway, I purchased 10 different chai tea brands from local stores as well as online. I made sure to purchase teas that were organic and fair trade or direct trade. Then I taste tested each of them individually. I brewed each one with the same amount of water for the same amount of time. After taking a few sips of the plain brewed tea, I added half a teaspoon of maple syrup and 2 tablespoons of cream and tasted it again. I rated each based on spiciness, freshness, bitterness, and overall strength of flavor. I also did a side-by-side comparison taste test with some of the ones that I didn't like as much, just so I knew where to place them in the ranking. And I decided to do a final side-by-side taste test of my favorite teas so that I can make a really good recommendation. Now, first of all, the ones that weren't my favorites. These aren't necessarily bad, they just weren't in the top tier for me. I would say that my least favorite of the chais that I tried was this one from Just Tea. It just tasted too medicinal for me, and the overall spiciness, brightness, and strength were low. The packaging is really cool though, and I like that it comes with a wooden scoop. Also, this is a loose leaf tea, so that reduces packaging waste. Next, we have the Numi Golden Chai, and again, with this one, the problem that I ran into was that the flavor was too medicinal for me, but it did have a medium level of spiciness. The wrapper for this one is plant-based, and the tea bags themselves are made from non-GMO manila hemp cellulose and are compostable. Another chai that just wasn't my favorite was from the brand Sips. This is actually a non-profit company, and according to the Amazon listing, they give back 100% of all profits to support the humanitarian work of Grace Farms Foundation to end forced labor worldwide. Their bags are made from a material that is commercially compostable. I felt like that the overall flavor of this tea was giving apple cider. It was actually spicier than some of the other teas, but I just didn't care for the overall flavor that much. Okay, those 3 were on the lower end for me. The next 3 were about tied for flavor in my book. These were the 3 store brands of masala chai that I tried out. First, we have the Tazo chai tea. I appreciate that this is so readily available in stores and that the price point is good, but it did have a little bit of that medicinal flavor, which I don't prefer, and the overall flavor was kind of dull. But it did have a nice general flavor, and it wasn't overly bitter. The next store brand chai was the one from Good & Gather, which is Target's store brand. Again, this wasn't a bad flavor, but overall it just wasn't super strong. It was mild and had a sweet flavor, and the overall spice level was okay. The price point is excellent at about $2.50 for 20 tea bags. And finally, for the store brands, I tried the Thrive Market chai. This one was the most bitter of the store brands, but it was actually my favorite of the 3. A predominant flavor note for me was licorice, and it had medium levels of spiciness, freshness, and overall strength. And finally, we have the 4 masala chai brands that were my personal favorites. Let's do the final taste test. I'm going to brew each one with 1 cup of boiling water for 5 minutes. And I lightly squeezed out each tea bag. First of all, I'm going to try out this one from Equal Exchange. What I liked about this one is that it had a stronger tea flavor than the other chais. Okay, let's give it a test. Yep, right away I'm getting a fairly strong tea flavor. It has like a nice amount of spiciness. I would say that the predominant flavors that I'm getting are cinnamon and cloves. Overall, I like this flavor. It's a nice kind of like, I don't know, like warm, I don't know how to describe it, like warm, strong, a nice like round flavor. Okay, next we have one that's been a favorite of mine for a while, the Rishi Masala Chai. When I tested this previously, I felt that it was more cinnamon forward than some of the teas and had almost a gingerbready flavor. I also felt that it had a good amount of brightness and freshness. So let's give it a taste. Right away, I'm getting less of a strong tea smell. Okay, let's give it a taste test. Right away, the spices are different. Yes, a stronger cinnamon flavor. I would say actually a little more bitterness, but I would also say, yeah, it's a little bit of a brighter flavor. Very nice, pretty strong. And it does have that bitterness, so if you don't like any sort of bitterness in your tea, then that might not be the one for you. Okay, next we have the one from the brand Hanuman, which I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but anyway, this one was intriguing to me because it contains saffron. It is a pretty smooth chai, if that makes sense, but the overall flavor isn't super strong, but it is a nice flavor. And to me, the flavor tasted clove forward. Okay, but let's give it another try. Yeah, right away when I'm smelling it, I'm smelling cloves, maybe anise. Yeah, again, it's a pretty smooth chai. And the overall flavor is nice. It's just not as strong as the other two that I've tried so far. I wouldn't say that it's a super sweet flavor, but not overly savory either. It's nice. And finally, we have a masala chai that really surprised me. It's from the brand Friendship Tea, and it's actually a decaf chai. But in spite of that, it had one of the strongest flavors. I would say that it's clove/licorice forward. Okay, let's give it a try. This one's really good. It's not really bitter. I would say that of the three, this one's tasting the least bitter to me. It has a nice spiciness to it. Yeah, just a very nice tea. As you can tell, it's not as dark as some of the other teas, and I don't know if that's from the spices or because it's a decaf chai. I would say that the Hanuman and the Friendship Tea are a similar color, and then the Rishi and Equal Exchange are darker, with the Rishi being the darkest. Okay, let's try these against each other. Hanuman, I would say this one has maybe a little bit more of a dry flavor, if that makes sense. And this one tastes maybe a little more fresh. The Friendship Tea is maybe a little more astringent than the Hanuman tea. Both very nice teas. Let me taste the Friendship against the Rishi. The Rishi is definitely stronger, maybe a little bit brighter. I would say maybe similar levels of brightness. The Rishi is also a little more bitter. I personally am okay with more bitterness if that means like a stronger overall flavor, but keep that in mind when selecting. Very nice strong flavor. And now I'm gonna do the Rishi against the Equal Exchange. They're actually pretty similar. Similar levels of bitterness. Both very nice. I would say maybe I prefer the Rishi a little bit, just because it's a little bit of a spicier, stronger flavor, but it does taste more bitter. Let me try the Rishi against the Hanuman. Both similar. The Hanuman is nice and spicy, but it's also smooth. Let me cleanse my palate a bit. Let me taste the Equal Exchange against the Hanuman. They're both so good. Boy, it's gonna be a tough one to make my final decision. So strong. So in conclusion, I really don't think that you can go wrong with any of these 4 chais, but if I were to make a recommendation, I would say that the Friendship Decaf and the Rishi Masala, I would say that these are probably my top favorites. The Friendship Tea is less bitter, but it's also less strong than the Rishi chai. So you can decide which you prefer. Do you like an overall stronger flavor but a little bit of bitterness? Or if you really can't stand bitterness, then you could do the Friendship Decaf chai. And Friendship also makes a non-decaf chai. I haven't tried that one, but I'm assuming that it would be good as well if you do actually want that caffeine. And then I would say that the Equal Exchange and the Hanuman are pretty similar levels for me as well. I do like with the Equal Exchange how there is a stronger tea flavor, and actually of the 4, I would say it has the strongest tea flavor. So if you really like that tea flavor to come through, then the Equal Exchange is probably a good choice for you. And if you like a smoother chai, then I would go for the Hanuman. I think this one is probably the lowest in overall flavor of these 4, but it is a pretty smooth chai. Now, if you're looking for a really affordable chai that has really decent flavor, then you could go for any of the 3 store brands. They aren't as, shall I say, special as some of these other brands, but they're still a nice masala chai. All right, if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to learn how to make the Starbucks chai tea latte at home, then make sure to check out this video next. Masala try. I made sure to choose teas. Wow. I made sure to purchase teas. Yikes. Of masala chai that I try.